He sat quietly across from me, hands folded, eyes low. The room was still that kind of stillness that comes when a man has run out of excuses. "I used to wake up with it," he said, "every morning like clockwork, like it remembered me before I did." Then he paused. "But now, it's like my body forgot." I've had variations of that conversation more times than I can count, and I've come to understand this isn't just about performance. It's not about ego or conquest. It's about something deeper. A man's sense of self, slowly fading without him knowing how or when or why. And sometimes the most painful part isn't the loss. It's the silence that surrounds it. I'm Dr. Thomas Leighton. I've sat with farmers who built this country from the ground up, veterans who carry scars that don't show on scans, grandfathers who quietly watch the years take more than just their youth. And here's the quiet truth I've come to believe. You don't lose your manhood overnight. You lose it slowly, through little habits, through what you neglect, and what you never learn to care for. But here's the better truth. You can start again, even now, even gently. So today, I want to speak to you man to man about caring for a part of your body that most men only think about when it's already too late. Because your penis, like your heart, your joints, your lungs, is an organ, and it needs attention. Not shame, not obsession, just honest, quiet care. If this message speaks to you, type 1. If you're not sure, type 0. Either way, thank you for listening. Let's begin. A man once asked me, "Doc, how come nobody tells us this stuff when we're younger?" And I said, "Because no one told us either." We were taught to be tough, to push through, to hide pain, and in that silence, we missed the most important truth, that your body is not just a tool, it's a partner. It will speak to you if you learn to listen. One of the first ways it speaks is through change. Maybe your morning erections aren't as strong. Maybe you've noticed more curve, or less sensation, or just disconnection. These are not failures. They're signals. And the first signal is often inactivity. You see, unlike your heart, which beats around the clock, or your lungs, which breathe without asking, the penis is a quiet responder. It needs activation to stay alive. Not constant sex, not performance, just healthy blood flow, gentle movement, and presence. Studies from institutions like Harvard Medical School show that erections serve a biological function. They deliver oxygen-rich blood that keeps erectile tissue elastic and strong. Without that, those blood vessels shrink, the tissue scars, and over time, atrophy begins. This isn't about age. It's about what's being used and what's being forgotten. That's why something as simple as a few minutes of daily pelvic floor exercises, what they call Kegels, can make a real difference. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. Just quietly commit. Squeeze those muscles you'd use to stop a stream of urine. Hold, then release. Do it while brushing your teeth or waiting for your coffee to brew. Over time, you might notice things shifting, a little more control, a little more sensation. And maybe, one quiet morning, your body remembers you again. The second thing, and most men shrug this off, is hygiene. I don't mean showers. I mean intentional, respectful cleaning. Your groin isn't just skin. It's a warm, folded, sensitive ecosystem. If debris builds up old skin cells, natural secretions, it becomes a breeding ground for bacteria. That's when chronic inflammation starts. And if that inflammation sits long enough, it can lead to serious issues, even cancer. The American Cancer Society has quietly noted links between poor hygiene and penile cancer, rare, yes, but devastating when it strikes. Most cases, preventable. You don't need fancy products, just warm water, unscented soap, a thorough rinse. Dry carefully, especially underneath. And if you've been intimate, take a moment to wash again. Respect the exchange between two bodies. Because that's what care really is, respect. And respect starts with how we treat ourselves when no one's watching. If you're finding this helpful or you're just starting to think differently about your health after 60, consider hitting the subscribe button. That way, you won't miss future insights made just for men like you. Now, Here's one that most men never even think about. Don't engage in intercourse without a full erection. I know, it sounds obvious, but many men, whether from impatience or pressure, try to push through even when the body isn't quite ready. You think, it's enough, but it's not. When the penis isn't fully erect, the tissue isn't supported. The friction from penetration then causes tiny internal injuries, microscopic tears. You don't feel them right away. There's no pain, no blood. But over time, that microtrauma hardens into scar tissue, and scar tissue curves. It tightens. It disrupts blood flow. It weakens function. It's called Peyronie's disease. And for many men, it sneaks up slowly until one day, they can't understand why their body won't respond. I once had a man tell me, "Doc, I wish I'd waited. Just a little more time. Just a little more patience." So if your body is moving slower, don't fight it. Breathe. Touch. Wait. Give yourself the grace to feel again fully, deeply, honestly. Because real strength isn't about pushing through. It's about knowing when to protect what matters. And what matters most is you. There's something I need to tell you now, and it might be hard to hear at first, but I say it with care. If you're watching adult films regularly, especially if it's become part of your routine, I invite you just for a moment to reflect. Not with shame, not with judgment, just honesty. Because I've watched men, good men, slowly lose something they didn't even know was fading. At first, it's harmless, a little habit, a way to feel alive. But as time passes, the brain, that incredible, adaptable organ, begins to rewire. And what once responded to warmth, breath, and the natural rhythm of a real human connection begins to crave something else, something faster, louder, less personal. That's not your fault. It's how dopamine works. You chase the feeling, not realizing that the chase is slowly dulling the reward. Researchers from places like the Mayo Clinic and the Journal of Behavioral Addictions have shown how regular exposure to high-stimulation adult content can actually reduce sensitivity to real-life intimacy. Not just psychologically, but physiologically. Your body starts waiting for a signal that never comes. And even when she's beside you, even when the moment is right, you can't feel it. Not the same way. That spark, that pulse, that energy that once made you feel alive, it's still there. It's just buried. The good news is, the brain can relearn, but only if you give it space. So start small. Take a break. Let the silence stretch a little longer. Let your body remember what it's like to miss something, not because it's withheld, but because it's real. Sometimes healing starts with a pause, and in that pause, something old begins to stir again. You begin to feel. Now, I know some men will roll their eyes and say, "Come on, doc, I've been doing this for years." But if you've also been struggling for years, maybe it's time to try something different. You don't have to cut everything off cold. Just step back far enough to see whether you still respond to the things that used to move you. Because if not, that's not freedom. That's numbness. And life, especially now, deserves more than numb. Let me share something else with you. Something quieter, but just as powerful. Your lifestyle, those small daily choices, are shaping your sexual health more than any medication ever could. Not just the big things, the little ones. The midnight snack, the skipped walk, the glass of wine that turns into two, the stress you carry in your shoulders but never speak of. I once had a patient, 68, sharp mind, kind eyes. He told me, "I used to think I was just getting old. But when I stopped drinking every night and started walking again, it was like my body forgave me." He didn't change everything, just a few things. And slowly, the fire came back. Science backs this up. A study published by the Cleveland Clinic and echoed by the National Institutes of Health showed that regular exercise, even just 20 to 30 minutes of walking a day, can improve erectile function in men over 60. Why? Because it boosts circulation, supports testosterone, lowers stress. It keeps the body moving, and moving is life. You don't need to become a bodybuilder. You just need to care. Eat a little cleaner. Sleep a little longer. Drink a bit more water. Move. That's all your body has ever asked of you. And when you do that, When you give even a fraction of that kindness to yourself, something remarkable happens. Your body remembers. It begins to trust you again. And trust between a man and his own flesh is the most powerful medicine I've ever seen. Now, before we move to one final, often overlooked piece of this story, I want to offer a small reflection. When you were younger, maybe you didn't think twice about your body. You just lived in it. You didn't manage it. You didn't need charts or routines. But now you have wisdom. And with wisdom comes responsibility not to be perfect, but to be present, to notice, to care. That's not weakness, that's maturity. So if you're here, still listening, still wondering what more you can do, know this. You are already doing something most men never do. You're paying attention. And that matters. Now let me share something unexpected, something that surprised even me back when I first read the research. It's about what you wear to bed, or rather, what you don't. See, even during sleep, a man's body continues its quiet work. Nighttime erections, not born of desire, but of biology, serve a protective role. They nourish tissue, keep blood vessels flexible, maintain the structure of the penis over time. But if you sleep in tight underwear, snug briefs, close-fitting pajamas, you're compressing those subtle movements. That compression, repeated nightly over years, can quietly lead to scarring. Scar tissue becomes curvature. Curvature becomes dysfunction. It's like stepping on a garden hose every night. The water still wants to flow, but the pressure, the squeeze, changes everything. The University of Michigan released a quiet little study a few years ago that linked restrictive sleepwear to lower sperm quality and reduced nocturnal penile tumescence, a fancy way of saying less nighttime activity. So what can you do? Simple. Let your body breathe. Loose boxers, soft shorts, or nothing at all. Let the night be a time of healing, not restriction. These little things, done quietly, can have the deepest impact, not because they're magical, but because they're mindful. You are not a machine. You are a living, breathing man, still capable of desire, still worthy of care, and still able, even now, to feel whole again. So here we are. Not at the end of something, but perhaps at the start. A soft beginning, the kind that doesn't announce itself with fireworks or urgency, but with a slow breath, a quiet knowing. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to listen. Sometimes, a man comes into my office convinced that he's broken, that something inside him has given up, disappeared. But when we look closer, it's not brokenness. It's neglect. It's exhaustion. It's silence. And more often than not, it can be reversed, not with prescriptions or procedures, but with simple, consistent care. You might be surprised what changes when you sleep a little better, when you move your body each day, when you drink more water than coffee, or when you finally stop treating your body like a stubborn old engine and start treating it like an old friend who just needs a little time. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat outside in the morning, just breathing in the air before the world got loud? When was the last time you stretched your arms above your head, let the light in, and said, "Today I'm still here"? That right there is where healing begins. And here's the quiet truth no one tells you. You don't need to feel like you're 30 again. You just need to feel like yourself again. That might mean changing how you relate to your body, not as something that has failed you, but as something that's waited patiently for your return. I remember a man, 74 years old, who came in with low energy, low libido, and a feeling he described as flat inside. We didn't start with pills. We started with his mornings. He began walking just 10 minutes a day. He stopped eating late. He turned off the screen an hour before bed. He started talking to his wife again, not about problems, but about the garden, the weather, the small things that remind us we're still human. 3 months later, he came back and said, "Doc, I didn't think I'd feel this again. Not the sex, the aliveness." That's what we're really talking about. Not just erections, not just performance, but the quiet flame that says, "I still matter." And yes, it takes time, but it's not too late. Some men think the train has already left the station, but I say maybe it's still waiting. Maybe it just needed you to show up. You see, The strongest men I've known, the ones who made it to 80 still walking upright, still laughing with a full voice, they weren't superhuman. They were just honest. They adjusted. They forgave their bodies for slowing down. And in return, their bodies forgave them. So if there's anything I'd ask of you right now, it's this. Don't try to fix yourself. Just sit with yourself a little more often. Ask, am I rested? Have I moved? Have I laughed today? Is my body waiting for me to notice something I've been too busy or too proud to hear? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. And sometimes, the smallest shift one evening without the screen, one night sleeping in looser clothes, one walk at sunrise, can start to unlock the very thing you thought you'd lost. Your body isn't punishing you. It's waiting for your partnership. Now, if you've come with me this far, I'll offer one last gentle reflection. We live in an age of instant answers. A symptom, and we reach for a pill, a dip in energy, and we think something must be wrong. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes the body doesn't need fixing. It just needs to be heard. You might be surprised how many men, deep into their 60s or 70s, rediscover vitality just by doing less, not more. Less noise, less tension, less forcing, more breathing, more movement, more stillness. One study published in Harvard Health showed that mindful breathing even just 10 minutes a day improves blood pressure, lowers cortisol, and supports healthy testosterone levels. Not by changing your chemistry, but by calming your system. That same breath, taken slowly in the morning or before bed, may be the thing that brings your nervous system back into balance and, in turn, your intimacy, your strength, and your sense of connection. So let your daily health become your quiet ritual. Not punishment, not performance, just presence. And when you begin to feel better, and you will, you won't need to tell anyone. It'll show in how you move, how you sleep, how you smile to yourself when the lights go off and your body says, I remember who I am. This work you're doing, this care, is not just for your body. It's for your dignity, your wholeness, your story. You are not a project. You are a person. And you deserve to feel at home in your skin again. So, if this message touched you, perhaps share it quietly, as it was shared with you. Not for likes or attention, but because somewhere out there, another man is wondering if he's the only one feeling what you've just lived through. He's not. We're walking the same road, and some of the strongest steps are taken when no one else is watching. You don't have to fight age. You just need to come home to yourself. And when you do, everything changes. I'll be here if you need someone to walk with. Until then, be gentle, be honest, and keep going. You're worth it.